The Great Gatsby. A story about a self-made millionaire who became a beacon of hope. A roaring 20s tale about a nice young man who rose to the top and ended up dead, thanks to those awful old money people. Welcome to Schmancy, the place where we talk all things rich, exclusive, and fancy schmancy. Today we're taking you through The Great Gatsby, F. Scott Fitzgerald's story about Jay Gatsby, who went from rags to riches and took the Gold Coast of Long Island by storm. If you haven't read the book or seen the movie, by all means, do stop what you're doing and click right here. Then come back and tell us your thoughts. Anyway, after diving deep into the story, we've come to the conclusion that Jay Gatsby is not what he's all cracked up to be. There are some things we've uncovered about Jay. And boy oh boy, let's just say, they're really not so great. These are the things that over the years, people have either overlooked or swept under the rug. Thankfully, there's Schmancy to reveal these things to you. And once you see them, you cannot unsee them. We have a lot to say here. So without further ado, here are the 6 things you never knew about Jay Gatsby. Number 1. He was a gold digger. So many revere Jay Gatsby as a self-made millionaire and a symbol of the American dream. But let's get real. In actuality, he was more of an opportunist, or better yet, a gold digger. For you see, Gatsby wasn't the type to get an education and make a career for himself. He wasn't the type to build a business from scratch either. He had tried college for 2 weeks, and dropped out as he found it too slow-paced, and hated being a janitor in exchange for his tuition. Thing is, Gatsby wanted a lot of money. He wanted the good life, but he wasn't willing to put in the amount of work that it took. Instead, he was looking for a get-rich-quick scheme. Or even better, someone he could mooch off of. At the tender age of 17, he had saved an old drunken sea captain named Dan Cody from destruction. This same sea captain was a copper tycoon worth millions, and for Gatsby, this was the opportunity he was looking for. He strategically set himself up as Cody's son and protege, and for 5 years they sailed together on his yacht. Through Cody, Gatsby got a big taste of the upper-class life he so desperately wanted to be a part of. After Cody's death, Gatsby was dead set on inheriting the remainder of his fortune. However, due to some savvy legal finagling, he was cheated out of his inheritance by Cody's mistress. His one and only opportunity to come into inherited wealth had come to nothing. Having no other alternatives, he found himself in New York City, building connections with Mayor Wolfsheim and his greasy team of mobsters. And within a year he became one of the wealthiest men in New York City. Entrepreneurial genius? Far from that. More like a desperate criminal, who would rather cheat the system, than put in the actual work that it takes to get rich. Number 2. He was a master magician. As a skilled bootlegger and swindler, does it come as a surprise to know that Jay Gatsby was also a master of illusions? One can clearly see just how well he had mastered the art of mystery and seduction. If you notice during his wild parties, he barely participated in the festivities. He had a way of weaving a web of lies, while making himself very scarce. He had a special knack for sitting on the sidelines while allowing everyone to fill in the gaps, and create great big romanticized versions of who he was. In time, he became quite pleased with the rumors about him that was circulating all throughout New York. To some, he was simply a legend, a star, a man of extraordinary high status. To others, he was a prince, an Oxford man, a former German spy, the Kaiser's assassin, a ruthless killer, and so on. So many stories, so many lies. Though most had never met him, they believed him to be larger than life. But very much like the Great Wizard of Oz, Gatsby was simply the eccentric and lone puppeteer pulling the strings from behind the curtain. Full of lies and tall tales, it was only a matter of time before the curtains fell to reveal who he truly was. Though he had vowed to become a man of greatness, he never vowed to do great things. He simply had to make you believe that he did. Number 3. He was a stalker. Okay, so we all know just how madly in love Gatsby was with Daisy Buchanan. And we understand they had a short fling, 5 years prior in Louisville, Kentucky. But you must admit that Gatsby took his obsession with her to a whole other level. A very unhealthy level. Seriously, a 5-year fixation on one woman is not normal. Building a massive bootlegging fortune just for one woman is not normal. Following her all the way out to Long Island without her knowledge is not normal. Purchasing a mansion directly across from hers, just to be near her, is not normal. Owning a scrapbook filled with newspaper clippings and images of this one woman, is not normal. Spying on your neighbor Nick Carraway, because you know he's related to Daisy, is not normal. Staring across at her estate every night, while secretly plotting a way to get her back, is not normal. Who does that? Only a stalker. For all the ladies out there, let's be real. If some guy was this obsessive over you, would you be flattered? Or would your alarm bells go off? If these aren't grounds for stalking, then we don't know what is. Number 4. It was infatuation, not love. Speaking of obsession, one has to wonder if Gatsby ever truly loved Daisy Buchanan, or if it was just an infatuation he had all along. We think the latter. He was more in love with what she represented. For you see, if Daisy had come from a middle class or a poor family, he never would have noticed her. As someone who absolutely hated his dirt-poor origins, and as the opportunist that we know him to be, she was his one-way ticket into the upper class. By marrying Daisy, Gatsby truly believed he could buy his way into her old money family. Things got even more creepy when he told Nick Carraway that after stealing Daisy from her husband, his plans were to go before her parents in Louisville for a proper wedding. Then later they would return to Long Island to live happily ever after in his brand new mansion. Delusional perhaps, but you tell us, how else was he supposed to make it into the upper class? Number 5. Pammy. Pammy who? Like the delusional egomaniac that he was, Jay Gatsby totally disregarded the effects a messy divorce would have had on Daisy and her 2-year-old daughter. He also didn't account for having to deal with Daisy's baby daddy on a regular basis. Did he actually think it would all go down smoothly? In fact, not once did he take her daughter Pammy into consideration. She was non-existent to him. He caught a brief glimpse of reality when he finally met Pammy at Daisy's house. It disgusted him to see her showing affection to a child she had with Tom Buchanan. Sadly, his reality check was short-lived. As soon as the child left the room, he was back on track with his agenda. When it came to Daisy's daughter, it was out of sight, out of mind. If you look at it closely, you'll see it was never about Daisy, and what would make her happy. But only about him, and what he wanted. Number 6. He was a narcissist. People like to portray Jay Gatsby as if morally he was somehow better than Tom Buchanan. But we don't see much of a difference. Buchanan was a lying womanizer. Gatsby was a lying criminal. They were both obnoxious, they both got their validation through money, and they were both self-absorbed narcissists who really could care less about what made Daisy happy. Had things worked out for Gatsby and he married Daisy, it would have been a disaster. First, he would have treated Daisy's daughter like crap. Second, her parents never would have accepted him. Not just because he lacked a pedigree, not just because he came across as extremely sketchy, but because he was the one to come between Tom and Daisy, because he was a home wrecker. In fact, they would have hated him. And last, Daisy is not used to being surrounded by gangsters and criminals, and never would have felt safe in Gatsby's home. Nevertheless, this is the type of world Gatsby had planned on bringing her into. Eventually, she would have discovered that Gatsby was a delusional narcissist for herself, and left him. As unfortunate as it may have been for Gatsby, we feel Daisy made the right choice by abandoning him. And retreating back into her money. Okay, so we know we've probably ruffled a few feathers by exposing Gatsby like this. But that's perfectly fine. We're sure in due time, you'll see it too. And you can thank us later. So, if Gatsby had lived to see Daisy choose her family over him, what do you think would have happened? Would he have accepted her decision and moved on? Would he refuse to take no for an answer, and stalk her even more? Would he still have taken the fall for Myrtle's death? Do you think he would have sought therapy for his condition? So tell us, what do you think would have taken place? Anyway, if there's anything else you would like to mention about Gatsby, or any of the other characters, feel free to share it with us in the comments below. Furthermore, if you got any value out of this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and click on the bell icon, so you never miss out on another video. With that said, we'd like to thank you for watching, and we'll see each other next time.